Learn how to create your own custom stamped fabric in just a couple of easy steps. I'm going to share with you all of my tips and tricks while showing you the process, so stick around because that's coming right up. Hey, I'm Deanna. Welcome to my studio. In this video, I'm going to be customizing some fabric using stamps and ink that is permanent and washable. You can use this technique to customize home decor items, personalize some gifts, and more. I'm going to be customizing these flour sack tea towels, but you could follow these steps on many different items like table runners or throw pillows. You could do this on curtains or canvas tote bags. Really, any smooth, flat fabric will work great for this technique. Let's take a look at the other supplies that I'll be working with. Now, I'll leave a list in the description below so that you can easily find these items if you'd like to recreate this project. I've got a clothes iron, as well as an ironing board, a cork, painter's tape, some paper towel. I'll be using Speedball block printing ink specifically for fabric. I've got a brayer, and this is for rolling the ink, as well as a hard flat surface to roll my ink on. And my stamps are alphabet stamps. I've got the entire alphabet here in upper and lowercase, as well as numbers, and these are by Iron Orchid Design. So let's get started. You'll want to wash and dry your fabric to pre-shrink before you get to stamping. I purchased these tea towels and they were labeled pre-shrunk, but I'm always skeptical about things that are labeled pre-shrunk. So I washed and dried one on hot just to make sure, and actually to my surprise, there was no additional shrinking. I'm going to be making two different stamped tea towels in this video. One is the original white color as I purchased it, and the other I dyed with Napoleonic blue chalk paint. If you're interested in learning how to dye fabric with chalk paint, I've got a video on that topic, and I'll leave a link in the description below for you to check that out. You'll want to iron your fabric so it's nice and smooth. When I was ironing, I ironed the white one just flat and smooth. This one I'm going to be creating an all over random pattern. On the blue towel, I ironed in some creases. You may have noticed that. And this was done intentionally. I was keeping in mind the way the tea towel will be hanging over the oven door handle. I'm going to be using these alphabet stamps to create a phrase, and I want it to be visible as it's hanging on the handle. Because my table has ridges in it from the planks of wood, I've brought over a smooth, hard surface to work on. I'm going to position my tea towel and tack it into place with some painter's tape. And I've got my Iron Orchid Design alphabet stamps ready to go. They are, again, the full alphabet in lowercase, numbers, as well as the uppercase stamps. I contacted them to see if they'd be interested in donating any products for me to use in videos, and they sent me this amazing set of stamps, so big thanks to them for helping me to create this project. What I love about the alphabet stamps versus a pre-cut saying is that you can really customize this to suit your own style. I'm making this one as a gift, so I've got a theme in mind that's personalized for the recipient, but I'm going to keep the theme a secret until the end of the video, so make sure you watch all the way to the end where I reveal the final set. Before just going ahead with stamping, you'll want to lay out your letters to mock things up so you can get a general idea of spacing. As you can see here, the rectangle that I've pre-ironed in, this would be the top, and then here are the sides and the bottom, so I'll want to space my saying within this area here. These individual letter stamps are clear. Keep in mind there's only one of every letter, so if you can't spell out the entire word, not a big deal. It's just to get a general idea of spacing to keep everything nice and even on your front surface. This set does not come with any punctuation, and my first word, of course, has an apostrophe. So I've got to get a little bit creative. I'm going to use the dot from the J as well as the top curve on the 1. I think when I put them together, they'll make an apostrophe shape. Fingers crossed this works. We'll find out soon enough. Okay, it's time to get stamping. I'm going to start off by squeezing some of my black ink onto my smooth flat surface. This is just a plastic cutting board. You could also use a metal plate or a piece of plexiglass. Again, this is the Speedball block printing ink made for fabric. Just need a little bit to start with. I'll also bring over my couple of my paper towel sheets, and I'll need my brayer for rolling the ink. Take your brayer and roll it into the ink. To get an even layer, I like to go in all directions just here, especially at the start when I'm loading it up. When you start to see a bit of texture, that lets me know there's enough product on the brayer. Not so much that it's creating big peaks or ridges, but enough that you can see it's evenly moist across the entire surface. I'm going to start at the top and work my way down so that I'm not working over wet ink. And I've got my spacing roughly here, so I have an idea of where each line is going to go. Keep in mind this is a handcrafted project, so if it doesn't end up perfectly square or even, that's okay. If that does bother you, you could take some painter's tape and you could mark out straight lines before you get started, so there's always that option. Take your first letter, lay it on some paper towel, and then use the brayer just to roll the ink onto the letter. Line up the letter, ink side down, drop into place, and once you drop it down, you can't move it, so one shot, here we go, and then apply firm pressure to the back side. There are specialty tools you can get that will help to press this evenly into place, but what I love about these particular stamps is that they're clear, so I can easily see where my letter is and the ink is. So I find for this project, just using my fingers and a bit of pressure works just fine. And once you've got it good and pressed down, go ahead and start at one side and peel the letter back to reveal your first stamped letter. You can just leave this ink side up on your paper towel in case you need to use that letter again, and then move on just in the same fashion. My next letter is an L. I'm going to go ahead and place it over here, load up my brayer, ink the letter, place it down. Using pressure on the back side, just a straight downward pushing motion, and then peel back to reveal your second letter. I'll just continue to follow these same steps as I work through my phrase. I'll likely need to squeeze out a little bit more ink as I go and reload my brayer each time for each new letter. Once I finish with the entire phrase, we'll move on to towel number 2, or I'm going to do something a little bit different. For the second tea towel, I'm going to be doing an all over random polka dot pattern. I'll be using the same Speedball fabric block printing ink, but in yellow, blue, and red. I'm going to be using a cork to make my polka dots. I tested a few different circle items and I found that this gave the best result. You can also cut a custom stamp from a lino block, which I will be teaching in another video, so if you are interested in that topic, remember to hit the subscribe and notification bell below so you're alerted when I upload that video. But for today, I'm just going to use this ready-made item. Because I'm going to be using the same cork for stamping all 3 colors, I'll start with yellow, then I'll move on to red and finish up with the blue. I'll start by squeezing out some of the yellow ink. This time I'm not going to be using the brayer to spread my ink. I'm just going to dip the cork right into the color and then directly onto the fabric. You can use the smooth hard surface to help evenly distribute the ink, and then go ahead and press it into your fabric. Like I mentioned, this is going to be a total random pattern, so I'm just going to continue stamping. When I feel like I have enough yellow, I'll move on to red and then on to blue. I think that looks like enough yellow dots. I'm going to move on to the red color. I'll just take a damp rag and wipe the tip of my cork before moving on to the next color. I think that's enough of the red dots, so I'll go ahead and wipe the cork off, squeeze out some of the blue ink, and add in my final color, blue polka dots. The label says give 48 hours to dry and wait a week before washing. I found that it took a little closer to 3 days for the ink to fully dry, and depending on the climate where you are, the temperature, and the air movement, it might take more or less time. Here's an example of a towel I previously made with a fork, knife, and spoon stamp that I cut out, and this one has been washed and dried in cold water and tumble dry low, and there was absolutely no color loss in the Speedball fabric ink, which was really impressive. This ink cleans up easily with warm soapy water. I like to clean up my tools now while they're still wet before the ink has a chance to harden on the surface. So I'm going to take that to a sink of warm soapy water, clean up, and then I'll be right back. We'll take a look at the finished project. As promised, now it's time for the big reveal. If you haven't already guessed, the set I made in this video was inspired by the popular 90s television show Friends. On the stamped tea towel, I've got the words, "I'll be there for you," which is the theme song for the television show. And here the polka dot, red, blue, and yellow dots come from the Friends logo. I made this set for my sister, who is a big fan. I hope you enjoyed watching this tutorial and learned a few things along the way. If you're interested in learning more DIY techniques, be sure to subscribe to my channel and remember to click the notification bell as well, because that's how you'll be alerted every time I upload a new video. Thanks so much for watching. See you back here next time.